Hi, everybody. We are just getting started here. Welcome to another GlossGenius webinar. For those of you who maybe it's your first time with us, welcome for the first time, or welcome back to those who've joined us before. Quick reminder up top before we dive into the content. I know we have almost 50 people with us already, which is so exciting. I know that will continue to climb a little bit. We do have a chat. Everybody here is welcome to type into it, share your questions, thoughts, reactions, and we do have a little reaction cannon too with some emojis, so feel free to use that. Hi, Tasha. Hi, Arminthia. Oh my God, hi, everybody. Great. Already getting some hellos in the chat. Keep them coming. Amazing. Well, let me get us started. So my name is Nicole Gifford. I work at GlossGenius, and I am so excited that you all are here. Whether you run a salon, a spa, med spa, or any other beauty or wellness business, you're in the right place. So tonight we're going to be focusing on pulling back the curtain on something we have a kind of genuinely unique window into. Some of you guys might know this already, but at GlossGenius, we power more than 120,000 beauty, wellness, and med spa and health businesses all across the spectrum. We see what's working for all of them, and most importantly, we see what the fastest growing ones are doing a little bit differently. So tonight we're going to be sharing that playbook. So we're not going to really just be sort of talking about AI in theory. I know that's something that can feel very mystifying. There's a lot of information out there that feels a little vague. Instead, we're going to be focusing on what actually moves the needle, what's happening right now, and what is really working for those businesses that are pulling ahead. So the next hour or so, we're going to walk through 3 of the largest problems that owners tell us are costing them time and money, and show you exactly how high-performing businesses are using AI to solve each of these and pull ahead of their competition. And we're also going to have a really special announcement towards the end, so be sure to stay with us. I'm super excited about what's in store. So with that, I also want to introduce my co-host, Alex Rosier, who is a product leader here at GlossGenius. So Alex, why don't you say hello?
Awesome. Hey everybody, I'm really excited to be here. We've been focused a lot on building these tools from the inside, and tonight is about showing you all the great stuff that's actually been working. And so no fluff, all just the real stuff. We want to give you kudos for taking the time out to actually get ahead in your business. So really excited to dig into it.
Yes, couldn't agree more. And a little bit more quick housekeeping before we get into the meat of the conversation. So this is being recorded. So a replay is going to go out to everybody who's registered. So, if there's some great takeaways that you want to revisit or things that maybe you want to rewatch or really study, you totally can. And if you have to drop at any time, that'll be there for you. So just so you know. And if anything tonight makes you want to see what makes this sort of special and what it could look like for your own specific business, we're going to be sharing some links throughout, including when to schedule a free personalized demo. So if you're not using GlossGenius already, it's a good opportunity to kind of get under the hood and see how these tools work in action. So more on that as the show progresses, and we'll share some resources there shortly. So before we dive into, I like to do this. I feel like people are already on it. I'm seeing some writers. If you wouldn't mind, definitely introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us where you're joining from, what your name is, and what kind of business you run. I always love to see like a straw poll of who's in the room before we get started. Okay, I see some typers. I already see someone joining from Fort Mill, South Carolina, and Georgia from Georgia, which is amazing. Arminthia from Arkansas. A lot of like fun name state combos. Holly from New Jersey, welcome. Richmond, Virginia, Maryland, Brooklyn. Amazing. Tampa, Florida. Nice amount of Brooklyn in the house. We love that. Go Knicks. Pittsburgh, Arizona, Kentucky. Amazing. Keep it coming, guys. Keep introducing yourselves to one another. And who knows, maybe we'll make some connections in the chat tonight too. We love to see the engagement. North Hollywood, California. Amazing. Okay, guys. All right, let's move into what we're going to chat about. So I'm going to start by zooming out for a moment at what's happening across the industry right now, because I think it really matters for tonight's conversation. So consumer demand for beauty, wellness, and health services has never been stronger, and people are prioritizing these experiences. We know that they're spending, and we know that the opportunity is really real. The reality is businesses are sometimes having trouble capturing this opportunity because of really, really real resource constraints. It's impossible to just hire your way to growth. If those of you guys who have a staff know that staffing is expensive, inconsistent, and it can be really hard to scale. I found this stat I thought was so interesting. 62% of spa owners say that demand already exceeds their capacity to staff against it. So really challenging growing pains right there.
Yeah, and at the same time, clients are expecting more than ever from their provider, right? So their expectations have fundamentally shifted. The folks that are booking with you, they expect to book at midnight. They expect a response from you in seconds, and they expect to be known by their provider, right? Your history, their preferences, their name, maybe even their dog's name. And the bar for you to deliver great service now includes all these touch points that happened long before and after anyone was ever in your chair. Your entire client journey needs to be covered at all these different touch points.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this stat is also, I think, a fascinating one. 78% of buyers will choose the business that responds first. This one stung. I didn't love reading this. So, basically what we're seeing is you have rising demand on one side, rising expectations on the other, and then those resource constraints right in the middle. So really kind of limiting your access to those opportunities. And so the businesses that are finding ways to bridge this gap without burning out their teams or blowing up their cost structures or just generally burning out are the ones that are pulling ahead. So we're going to chat more about what that means, but we know that just from GlossGenius and from the 120,000 members that we have, that businesses that are starting to use more automation are seeing 75% or more rebooking rates, right? So just as one kind of metric of what's possible here, by leaning into this idea of what's new and what's possible to automate, we're seeing a lot of success. So more on the details in a moment, but wanted to share that.
Yeah, absolutely, Nicole. So just to underline this point, like this isn't a trend that's coming up. This is happening right now. And the gap between businesses that are leaning into what's possible with automation and AI and those that are kind of spending some time to figure it out and still they're sitting on the sidelines trying to find time to do this, that gap is widening. And so tonight we're trying to help you be on this side, right? Be on the right side of this. So regardless of where you are today and what tools you're using, we want to help you get set up for success and really know where are the areas of your business that you can impact right away.
Love that. Amazing. So moving on here, just a little bit about the structure of the event. So we're going to kind of cover 3 main problems and 3 AI-powered solutions, and then also some of the data behind what's actually working here. So you can think about it like 3 sections just to kind of orient you. First, we're going to talk about not being able to grow what you don't know. Basically, the data exists, but finding the signal in it just doesn't. Maybe you don't have time or the resources to do so. The next section is going to be on clients not getting back on the books, which can be a huge issue. In general, the warmest revenue that you have is sitting untouched in many cases. So we'll talk about how you can better activate that. And then lastly, you lose revenue to every missed call. So we know that 2 of 3 phone calls to businesses in our space go unanswered. We'll talk a little bit about how it's possible to avoid that for the future. Awesome. So let's get into that first part that I teased there, which is you can't grow what you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to talk about this for a second, I'd love to pose a question to everybody here. When was the last time that you really looked into your data? So not just your booking count or for the week or how you did on sales, but the stuff underneath, the stuff that's really driving your numbers. Examples here are like, what percentage of your clients did you lose that you could have won back? Which services are your highest margin services? And which types of customers are actually booking those types of services? And then like which hours of the week are those repeated patterns that are open and you could find time to fill those slots or find a campaign that could fill those slots? The answer for most of the owners that we speak to is not that recently. And the reason is not because they don't care, right? It's because of everything else that's happening in the business. So pulling time and insight together when you already have a 10-hour day is really difficult. And so, finding the mental energy to do that at the end of the day has been really challenging for a lot of our owners. And like this, if Nicole, if you could go to the next one, this is a quote of, how some of our owners are responding to this, where, so drained by the end of the day, where you just want to eat and pass out. You don't even have the mental capacity to dig through reports. And we're hearing this from a salon owner in Boston. And like, this is one that we hear all the time. And we're here to help, and we want to help you with that, because this data does exist, and whatever platform you're on, it's being tracked somewhere. And so the problem is finding the signal when you're running on empty and being able to find the time to do that. And when you can't see what's happening in your business clearly, it's hard to fix it, right? It's hard to know where to look and what to act on. And so we want to help with that today.
Yeah. And I see some people in the chat were kind of echoing Xiomara's feelings in that quote. Kita, I pull this info once a month, sometimes twice, and then it becomes overwhelming. It's something we hear a lot too. It can be a lot to look at. So more on that. But okay, what we know is that owners who are winning right now have solved this with a little bit of a mindset shift, which is to stop going looking for insights and instead set up some systems that bring insights to you. So what does that mean? In practice, that means using AI to monitor your business data continuously. So flagging retention problems before they become expensive, surfacing underperforming time slots before the week is over, identifying your highest value clients before they quietly slip away. And the businesses that are doing this aren't just more informed. They're actually catching problems their competitors don't even know that they have. So whatever platform you're on, the first question to ask is, does my software surface these insights proactively, or do I have to go hunting for them? If you're still hunting for them, this is a gap that you might want to consider closing, right? It's one thing to be able to search your information for the pinpointed problems that you're seeing. It's another when something is being proactive for you. And for GlossGenius members, and guys, for those of you who are here who are already members that haven't played around with Growth Analyst, I really want you to do this because I think this is going to help a lot. This is exactly what Growth Analyst does. So this is our AI agent that works 24/7 to surface your highest value opportunities automatically with no digging required. So you might open GlossGenius in the mornings, it's a day in the life scenario, and you see you have 14 clients who haven't booked in 90 days. Their average spend is $185. Here's a suggested message to reach out. Or it might say something like, your Tuesday afternoons are running at 60% capacity. Here's a promotional idea to fill them. It's proactive intelligence delivered before the problem gets expensive, and I think with a degree of specificity that really helps you action it without having to do even more digging and second guessing. So Ashley, thank you for saying that. It's a great tool. I'm glad you're getting good use out of it. And I want to share a specific example, even beyond those kind of day in the life ones that I shared before. So Xiomara, we met her briefly before with her quick quote there. She had a really interesting situation happen. So she was one of our very early adopters of Growth Analyst, and she owns X Beauty Studio in Boston. Xiomara had been running her business for over a decade. She's super proud of her team. She had excellent reviews and generally felt like she was doing everything right, but something felt off and she couldn't really put her finger on it. When she was kind of thinking about her numbers and where she thought she should be, things didn't smell quite right. So she tried Growth Analyst. And one of the cool things about Growth Analyst is you can prompt it as well. So it's not just the proactivity, it's also that you can ask questions and it's going to surface some specific and useful next steps for you. So she asked Growth Analyst a very simple question, which is just, where is my biggest growth opportunity? The answer was extremely surprising to her. So she learned that X Beauty Studio had 200 new clients per year, but 85% of them never came back for one of her providers. So within that one provider who was getting new clients coming in, 85% of those new clients were just never returning. So a lot of new clients, not a lot of retention. Xiomara had absolutely no idea that this was happening, and the revenue that she was losing was somewhere between 10 and 15K a year. So significant revenue. She went a little bit further. She talked with Growth Analysts directly about if any of her staff performance was a true risk to her business, and it gave her the data she had been missing and the confidence to finally act on something that she'd been second guessing for 2 years. I know a lot of people here have had these moments of a lack of confidence in a service provider or a fear that some small decision was costing them. In this case, Ziamara was really able to get to the bottom of it really effectively through the use of Growth Analyst. So she shared, with us that it gave her so much confidence to make a really hard call. She felt like she was making a data-driven decision about something that she doesn't take lightly. Ziamara made a staffing change. She set up automated rebooking reminders. She started using AI marketing, which we're going to chat about next, to follow up with first-time clients before they slipped away. And she saw a huge difference. And she shared with us, which I thought was such a cool quote, so I'll just read it to you guys. It really is like having a little partner. Hey, can you look at this for me? And it gives you actual opinions. So I think that's a great way to think about it, leaning on AI for these kinds of thought partnership experiments that you're trying to do as you get to the bottom of what's going on in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great story. I think it's so representative of the power behind some of these tools, and the broader principle here is powerful, right? Like, we have the opportunity to answer these types of business intelligence questions that used to require a whole analytics team in order to answer them. And you can just type it in just plain English and get an answer really quickly that could unlock an insight for you that you know what to do next, and how to grow your business, and how to make your services better, and how to increase your margins. Things like, what am I doing? How am I doing compared to last year? Which of my services are most profitable? Which staff member has the lowest rebooking rate, as was the example here? And you'll get these real answers, clear next steps in seconds. And for, as Nicole mentioned, the growth analyst, you already have access to this as a GlossGenius member, and it benchmarks your performance against 120,000 similar businesses to yours. So unlike a lot of these other tools that can be generic, you're always going to know how you stand relative to the types of businesses that are like yours, your peers, not just everyone else. And so that competitive context can be really hard to get in other places. And it's really powerful to know, how am I doing for my type of business of my size within my area? And now you immediately have a sense of how you compare to your peers. I am curious to everyone who's listening in here, if you want to type in the chat, what's a business question that you've been waiting to answer but haven't had the time to dig into, so we can share kind of some ideas across the group. If you have a second or two, feel free to type that in the chat and maybe get some inspiration for this week.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if there's something that's maybe been even on your mind, or even as you're hearing Ziamara's story, if something kind of sparks there about something you might like to probe into and learn more about when it comes to your business. I see some typers, so we'll give everyone a minute. And I see a question from Pulls and Polish. Do you all help with setup? We do actually have dedicated onboarding support, especially free data transfer, which is pretty exciting. And you said, I need help getting more customers. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about marketing next, so that might be interesting. And then just for reference, we do other webinars. A lot of times we do focus a lot on marketing, so more to come there. Stay tuned. More opportunities to learn. But back to our question. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? If not, that's okay. Awesome. Well, hopefully it's food for thought either way, and folks are thinking about ways that they can leverage a tool like this for the future. Amazing. All right. So let's move on to part 2 here. I know we just sort of briefly chatted about marketing, as one of our friends in the audience mentioned. So one of the revenue sources that most owners are dramatically underutilizing actually are the clients that they already have and marketing to them. So we're going to get into the sort of nitty gritty here on clients getting back on the books. So this stat I thought was a really interesting one and a little bit of a scary one, which is acquiring a new client costs 5 to 25 times more than retaining an existing one. It's a little bit surprising, but it is a pattern that we do see consistently. Owners are with clients all day, and marketing gets pushed to the end of the day, or when they're exhausted, or it just doesn't happen at all. And marketing, we know, can feel a little bit like a black box. It can be a little bit difficult to understand. So even when there's genuine intention to reach out, figuring out what to say, who to send it to, when to send it, it's more friction than most owners have bandwidth for. So, your client list sits there, and the revenue that's sitting inside of that list goes untouched. Meanwhile, businesses that have cracked this are reaching out to their clients consistently, automatically, and without competing for anybody's attention, really. So I'm curious, for those of you guys who are already, doing a lot of marketing to your existing client list, or maybe you're not, how often are you actually sending marketing emails or texts to your client list, regardless of whatever platform you use for this? I'm curious if you're doing this weekly, monthly, hardly ever. Be honest, I'm curious everybody's take. Never. Summer. Okay. Very honest answer. Weekly. Lachelle. Okay. Amazing. Listen, there are no wrong answers here, because hopefully we can give you some good ideas here. Monthly newsletters, I love, Melissa. I think that's so smart. Weekly, monthly, 6 times a year, blog posts weekly. Arminthia, wow, that's amazing. Not enough. Okay. Totally heard, guys. So I'm seeing a lot of variation here, right? And I know sometimes these things can also get a little bit off schedule. It's hard to automate these. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can build a system around this kind of outreach.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about marketing, because there is some variance in terms of the responses here. The headline to talk about is what we see in terms of the fastest growing businesses are the ones that are making marketing stop being a task that you have to get to at the end of the day, but rather something that's happening in the background consistently without requiring your mental energy after a long day. You spend a long time working, and sometimes you even miss lunch, and it's hard to get to marketing. If you can put it in the background, it's going to help you consistently bring clients in and keep them coming back. And so the principle for that is to use AI to let it figure out who to reach, what to say, and when to send it. So really the only thing left for you is just to click the send button. It's all set up for you, and you just have to click send. Consistent outreach to the right clients at the right moment is one of the highest leverage things that you can do as a service business owner. The owners who have automated this are effectively giving themselves a marketing team that never clocks out. And so whatever platform you're on, and ask whether it can personalize outreach based on actual client behavior, not just a generic blast to your whole list, but targeted messages based on those who haven't come back or hit a milestone or have a certain time on the calendar, like a birthday or something like that. They tend to respond more to a promotion because you're spending the time and saying, my business really knows about you, and we can personalize that message and make it very clear. And so that's what kind of separates marketing from converting and getting the booking versus getting ignored in the inbox. And so for GlossGenius members, the GlossGenius AI marketing does exactly this. So if you're looking at here, it's going to help you draft personalized emails and text campaigns based on your actual client data. So it knows things like who hasn't returned back in 90 days, who just hit their 10th appointment, which clients respond to a flash promo versus those that don't. And you can drop in a few bullets about what you wanted to say, and it will write the whole campaign for you in your tone and your voice without the copywriting skills that are required or anything like that. No end of day kind of willpower trying to summon, I got to do marketing. It's already done for you. So that's the main benefit, and what most of our members are already finding really valuable about it. An example here that we love, in terms of a quote for this, is that the AI marketing in GlossGenius for email and text is super convenient, and it automatically kind of changed it used some of the branding kit verbiage and allows, the example Precious gave here is that she always calls her clients beautiful. And so the AI kind of learned that and used that in the greetings automatically, so that every single campaign kind of resonated with what she already wanted to say to her customers, and it was already built in for her to send.
Yeah, and I think, kind of goes back, just to piggyback on that, to what we shared in the beginning, this level of personalization and client experience that's becoming expected, right? And it's one thing just to hit people with an email blast. It's another to hit them with something that feels personal and tailored to their journey, right? Whether it's their birthday or something, they just hit their 10th appointment with you. And Precious' example, because she had worked with the marketer enough, it started using her own words, right? And that feels really personal. So I think, again, just to double down on that, I think more important than ever to make people feel really seen and heard, and that helps you stand out from the pack. So love that. And I want to also call out another related principle when it comes to growing ROI on marketing and improving your kind of leverage in your existing clientele, which is plugging cancellation gaps. So cancellation gaps, we know that's something that can happen. It happens pretty frequently in some businesses. And when you're back to back, a cancellation can come and go before you even notice it. Hopefully those of you guys who are using GlossGenius or another platform have on some services that are going to kind of deter this. For example, making sure that you have clear cancellation policies and deposits. I could go on and on about deposits. Hopefully you guys are all using those. But a waitlisted client could have gladly taken that slot because cancellations do happen, and the revenue would have stayed in your business instead of disappearing. So what we know about some of the best operators is that they have automated this completely. So the moment a slot opens, the right client on the wait list gets a text and a prompt to book. So there's no manual work. The calendar fills itself. And for businesses that are running tight schedules, this alone can recover thousands of dollars a month that used to evaporate. And so particularly with GlossGenius, for those of you guys who are already members, AI Waitlist handles this for you, automatically matching the right client, sending the text, filling the slot, all without you touching it. So that's a really big one. If you're not already kind of playing with waitlists, get into it. And if you're not using GlossGenius, could be a reason to consider making a switch. But again, I know I mentioned this before. This is a huge part of why GlossGenius businesses see a 75% or more rebooking rate. Making sure that you have these kinds of things automatically on and keeping people involved and on the schedule. We also have automated rebooking reminders, which help with this too. So that's another huge factor. Quick question for you guys before we move on to our third section. How are you currently handling cancellations? Does anybody here have like a policy or a strategy they're particularly proud of that maybe they're doing right now? I'm curious if anyone has any thoughts on this. 50% fee, Melissa? Yeah, that's a good one. 30% fee. Good. You guys are on cancellation policies, which I love to see. Great. Madison, 50%, 60% same day cancel fee, 75. Wow. You guys are on it. Great. If you're not already doing this, guys, there's some great examples in the chat of how people are managing this. Annika, welcome back with the 50%. We love that. Yeah. Great, guys. And yeah, Tracy mentioned policy through Gloss means it's automatically done. We love that. Yeah. So again, all you can do to kind of continue to plug those revenue gaps, make sure those leaks aren't happening, and make sure that you're activating that existing membership or that existing clientele that you have to make sure that people are still coming back on the schedule and you're not losing out. Amazing, guys. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to part 3 now.
Yeah, I was super excited about this. At the top of the call, Nicole started with, we have an announcement, and so we're going to cover that in this section. This is all about how today there's losing revenue to every missed call or booking opportunity that you can't get to, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. When we put some of the numbers in front of owners, they almost can't believe it. And it is really striking that 2 out of 3 calls to small beauty, wellness, and health businesses go unanswered today. And 80% of those callers won't leave a voicemail. They'll book with a competitor instead because they're ready to book in the moment. If they don't get an answer right away, they're probably going to look elsewhere. And so we have we want to talk a little bit about this problem and how we can address it. Before we do so, I want to talk about the math of how this actually stacks up. So if you were getting 25 calls a week and 2 out of 3 of them go unanswered, that's about 16 missed calls per week. And if only 1 out of those 3 would have booked, if they actually booked on your calendar, that's losing 5 bookings a week. If we look at about $100 an average per booking, you're missing out on $500 a week of revenue and $24,000 a year because it splits out to 500 a week and then 2,000 a month and then 24,000 a year. And so that doesn't even factor in all of those clients that could have rebooked with you, right? We're just talking about the new clients here. So if they feel rushed or they don't leave that 5-star review because the provider was distracted by checking a phone mid-service, like sometimes you have to choose between the client in the chair or the client reaching out. That all factors in too, in terms of like trying to deliver that top-notch kind of quality and making sure everybody remembers each one of your clients feels like they're your favorite, and like trying to create that amazing experience that keeps people coming back. And so the hard part about this is it's really not anyone's fault. The phone rings if you're with a client, and it rings on Sunday evening when you're trying to relax with family. Texts can come in at midnight when you're planning your next month. You can't be everywhere at once. And so, if the client's coming in to try to book in that moment, and if you're not available for whatever reason, then the competitors are still there and they'll end up booking with someone else, is what we're seeing in the data here. And so what we want to talk about here is just in terms of like how some of our users and members have kind of spoken to this problem, is that you don't want to miss any opportunities when it comes down to it. It cuts into time with kids and family being attached to your phone. We hear like glued to our phone all the time, and that leads to a lot of stress. And so this tension of like being present for the client in front of you and your family after hours, but also wanting to be able to answer every call and opportunity that comes through, it's one of the most consistent things we hear from owners. And so I'm curious, from anyone in the audience, does this resonate with you? How are you handling this right now? Do you have a full-time receptionist? Do you have part-time help, or is it all on you? Would love to hear like how your front desk situation looks, and if this is something that comes up for you.
Yeah, it's so interesting. There's so many different ways to manage this issue, and I wonder if anyone feels like they've cracked the code. Maybe not. Christy, it's all you. Oh man. All me.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. No, I think it's a common Lola, all me. Yeah, no, it's definitely a common issue that we hear. And I think, I think even when you think about the text, I mean, you guys are getting reached out to a million different ways, which is so hard. Rachel, one woman show. Yep. Yeah. Seeing a lot of all me. Nikki works at the manager, which helps. That's great. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of different schools of thought around this, right? But I think really interesting to kind of dig into kind of common issues that you guys all see and share them here. So appreciate you guys sharing how you've been managing this stuff. But let me share a little bit. So, the businesses that we've seen solving this, and Madison shared a little bit about this, and Madison's ahead of the curve, which we love, is that, the phone and the treatment room are two different jobs. So some of you guys, I think, have kind of come to this realization or kind of started to feel this way. And trying to do both at once means not doing either one well, which is hugely challenging, especially if you're one person show or you're an owner split across a million different responsibilities. So we know that for many independent owners, for small teams, the solution of hiring a full-time receptionist can be a challenging option because maybe it's not economically viable. And for other folks who maybe are even larger business, who might already have a receptionist, there's still the problem with those after hours calls, which is so real. Like clients that, will try to reach you at times when they can't, maybe when they're done with work, right? Sometimes those hours, business hours, can be challenging. And what we know is that AI can really help here to handle the communication layer completely, so your team never has to choose between the client in front of them and the one trying to reach them, or their personal life for that matter. So in practice, this looks like every call answered within seconds, every text replied to immediately, bookings, rescheduling, and client questions handled automatically around the clock, while you and your team stay 100% focused on the in-person experience. The client on the phone gets taken care of, the client in your chair gets your full attention, and nobody loses. So the businesses that have this set up aren't just capturing more revenue. They've removed a source of stress that was quietly affecting the quality of every single appointment and maybe their quality of life too, just to say the quiet part out loud. So I'll kick it over to Alex really quick.
Yeah, so this is the exciting news for tonight. We for our customers, we're announcing Reception by GlossGenius, and tonight we're going to send a link if you're interested in joining a wait list and interested in getting access. Reception is an AI receptionist built directly into GlossGenius, so you'll be able to stay fully present and fully booked, right? Being able to answer these calls at any hour, answer these texts at any hour, right? And actually book into your calendar. It knows your schedule and is able to actually complete bookings for you. And so you don't have to choose right between like the client in front of you and answering the call, or if it's 9 p.m. and you want to turn your phone off, God forbid, you can actually get a booking. So that's what Reception is all about. And like, unlike some of these other options out there that take a message or say, okay, cool, here's a link for you to book, it's actually going to book and reschedule on your appointments directly onto your calendar. So it's going to handle that booking, and it's going to handle rescheduling if clients request that, and it's going to use the real-time availability and your own scheduling and policy rules. And you're really cool because it's built into GlossGenius. It's already going to know your business from day one. So things like your services, your providers, your pricing, your policies, your client history, you're going to be able to turn it on, and it's going to sound like an employee who's been there for years because it has all of the data that you have made and as part of your business. And so while these other, we talked about like these customers who are ready to book in the moment, they could turn to a competitor. They could turn to someone else in the area. If your competitor doesn't have this, you have now an edge over them, right? Because you're going to be able to answer all of the calls and texts that come in, and it's going to respond in a way that you can review, control, and in your tone and all your policies set up. And so you'll be the business that responds every time, as opposed to putting them on hold or putting them on a voicemail or saying, this line is closed for these hours, right? So you'll always be open for business. And what we're seeing here is that some of our earliest beta users, it's in the hands of just a very few amount of businesses today. We're seeing 35% more calls answered in a month, in month one, and then average response times being under 10 seconds for every call and text, and average inquiries being handled in under 2.5 minutes. And these are some of the experiences that our users are having today. And yeah, we're really, really excited about this, and we hope that you're excited about it as well.
Yeah, just to chat a little bit about some of the early great feedback we've been getting, who've been part of this early beta. A couple of great call outs here. Felina spoke to, how much peace of mind she's gotten knowing that this is responding for her and that her clients can be helped in real time. Angela mentioned that this is a really big time saver for her. And that she, doesn't need to have anyone at her front desk, which is really helpful, as she, at this point, no one on her team has time to be on the phone. And then lastly, from Elizabeth, she shared, which I think is so true, I honestly don't know of a business that can't benefit from Reception. Handling multiple appointments at one time, that's something that's been really key for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to kind of call this out. Like, this isn't about replacing people. Your team is irreplaceable. You are irreplaceable, right? That's the whole point. Reception is what this allows you to do is get to everything that you weren't able to get to before. So the after hours texts, the calls that come in late, and like the mid-appointment calls. There's always that moment of like, should I give a hold on 1 second type of vibe, or should I just like answer this call? And I think that allows you to do both really, really well. where you can stay locked in with your clients, stay present, deliver the best experience, and then also answer anybody else who's calling you to reach out. They deserve a great experience as well. And so frees up the work that like only you can do and only your team can do to hopefully do more important work that helps move the business forward.
Yeah. We all love the feeling of really amazing service. Like when you go to an amazing resort and you feel like you're treated like royalty, right? I think, for those of you guys who are thinking about this or new to this concept, it's this idea of, incredible hospitality that you're giving to any potential client who's reaching out to you, whether they're in your chair already or not. And I love that we're empowering that kind of experience. But yeah, I know I'm going to just quickly mention, I dropped the link in the chat a couple of times. I'm about to drop it again. If this is resonating and missed calls and after-hour texts are a real problem for your business, drop reception in the chat and we'll make sure that we reach out to you sort of directly with even more resources too. Gabriella just dropped the waitlist again, so definitely join that. But curious, any reactions or thoughts? I know we've had some kind of roll in, but thanks guys for sharing some initial feedback. Amazing. We've got some questions about cost. Alex, do you have anything that you can share about that with us? I know that's been mentioned a couple times.
Definitely. So it's going to be free until October 1st. So the earlier you get access, the actually longer that you get free access. And so you can, try it out, tweak and tune it and use it in your business. And once it hits October 1st, it will become a paid feature, right? A paid product for our members, but we don't exactly know the pricing yet. And so we're going to let you know before anything changes exactly like how much this will cost and how it will be priced. But I would say take advantage of it now while it's in the free stage.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Super helpful. Amazing. We got some receptions rolling in. Again, feel free to join the waitlist link that we dropped, and we'll also reach out to you with these resources afterwards too. And thanks for those of you guys who hand rose there. Really exciting. We've covered a lot so far in this event. And so I want to kind of zoom back out and kind of put the whole picture together. And obviously I know reception is so exciting. So if you have more questions and like thoughts, continue to drop them as we go through this. But I want to do this because when you see it as a system, I think what we shared clicks a little bit differently. Basically, there are 3 problems that are costing service businesses real money every single day. 3 places where AI creates a genuine competitive advantage, not by replacing human work, but by making sure the human work is all your team ever has to do, right? Which I love, I think is so critical to point out. And so I love this view, which I'll share just really a kind of a quick version of. Think about it like this. So the same business, same challenges, but having 2 super different weeks. So we'll go through the old way first. You're making decisions based on gut feel. Those revenue leaks that you might not know about are going unnoticed. Marketing lives on your to-do list, but the client list sits untouched, uncontacted. Cancellations stay empty. Waitlisted clients never find out about them. And calls are going unanswered mid-appointment, and clients book instead with whoever picks up. The AI-powered way is a little bit different. So you have AI surfacing issues and opportunities before they get expensive. You get personalized outreach that goes out consistently based on real client behavior. The moment a slot opens, the right client gets a text, and your calendar is filling itself. Then lastly, every call and text is answered instantly, around the clock. Missed opportunities are a thing of the past. Obviously, this is a utopian vision, but it's one that we're really excited to be able to, again, power for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And each of these shifts make a real difference, but together, when you think about the whole picture and what you're able to do with your business, they do compound into something that's genuinely hard for competitors in your area to replicate. So your business can get smarter at every touch point, like we talked about before, leading up to the booking, and then after, without adding a bunch of headcount or burning out your team. And so for GlossGenius members, all this is built into the platform you're already on. Right, like we talked about, Growth Analyst is there, AI marketing features we talked about, the wait list, and reception. working together in this single system that's always feeding into the next opportunity. And you turn it on, and GlossGenius is going to handle all the stuff that is hard to get to during the day. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so before we open up to a little bit of Q&A, so we're going to have a little time for that, which is great. I want to make sure that everyone maybe leaves with like a clear next step or something that they can do, a little bit of a plan for the next couple of weeks. And hopefully, you're feeling a little bit inspired. Maybe you're not exactly sure where to go next, but here's some thoughts on what could be a really productive next couple of weeks using some of the tools that are already available to you in GlossGenius if you're with us already. And maybe you want to start a trial, you want to learn more about it, start to see how it works for you, totally do that too. So this week, I'd really recommend pulling your retention numbers. So related to Xiomara's story, whatever platform you're on, go in and ask a question or pull a report. What percentage of new clients from the last 6 months haven't come back? That's one number that is going to tell you a lot. And if you're on GlossGenius, just open Growth Analyst and ask, if you haven't done this yet, where is my biggest growth opportunity right now? It's another really great question to kind of start and just sort of open up Pandora's box, see what it comes up with, and just see what it surfaces. Week 2, set up an automated win-back campaign for clients that you haven't booked in the past 90 or even more days. If you're doing this manually, just start there. If you're on GlossGenius, AI marketing will draft it for you. And AI waitlists will start filling cancellations automatically the moment that you turn it on. So if you don't already have that turned on, it's a good thing to go ahead and try coming out of this event. And then week 3, solve the phone problem. So as we start to ramp up receptionists or reception, which is coming really soon, that's an option for you there as a GlossGenius member. And this could be, whether it's a part-time hire or virtual receptionist service, or again, if you're on GlossGenius, get on the reception waitlist. And be among the first to have this handled. But by this point, you'll have retention, marketing, and bookings running on autopilot, and you should have some really clear visibility into where you are leaking revenue and proof, hopefully, by week 3 that it's stopped or improved, which is really exciting. So not overwhelming you with a million things, just 3 ideas here for you where to get started and make some improvements. 3 time horizons, super simple. Fun screenshot to have in your phone. So feel free to screenshot this or even take a quick picture of your screen, because hopefully this will give you some good inspiration for the coming weeks. Amazing. And then we're about to hop to Q&A. I'm going to just throw one last plug for reception for our waitlist. So please, if you haven't done it already, submit this little form. It takes just a couple of seconds. Open it now, even if you don't want to do it right this moment. Join the waitlist for reception if it's something you're interested in. We'd be really excited to have you try it out. Additionally, if anything that we covered tonight made you think like, I want to see exactly what this could look like for my business, I would really recommend scheduling a free demo. So there's a little QR code up on the screen right now. You can totally scan it. Gabriella just dropped the link to personalized demo, so you can feel free to schedule it there. This is not a generic demo. This is time spent with our team where they'll go deep with you about what GlossGenius can look like for your business. And again, that link is in the chat for you if you want to take a look. And that's that for our links. And we're going to open it up for Q&A. So let's do it. Let's see. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I know there's been some. Feel free to resend them if we haven't gotten to you already. Let's see. We've got some questions coming in. I'm scrolling back to. Summer, you asked, you have the ability to add websites where I can sell product. You can link a external website. So that's something that you can do on GlossGenius. I believe there's a limitation to how many. So just throwing that out there, but good question. Claudia, will I be able to watch this again? Absolutely. So we're going to be sharing the recording in an email after the event. So yes, you will be able to watch it again. And also, by the way, tip for you guys, all of our webinars live on our YouTube page. So if you guys are ever interested in going back and maybe you're not so, tuned into your email, it usually goes up on YouTube within about a day or two of an event. Lachelle, I want to know how to connect Google reviews to my GlossGenius. We will have Violet maybe drop a link for you with some instructions for how to do this. But yeah, one of the cool things with GlossGenius is you can solicit Google reviews from your clients. Really, really a game changer for attracting new clients. So we'll let Violet shoot over a little guide to this. Okay, let's see. Michelle, yeah, so I just covered perfect.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. That's a great question, Lachelle. And if anybody hasn't set up Google reviews, you should. Follow the link that Violet will send. It should be something called Reserve with Google within your account, and it's a great way to rack up reviews and positive kind of reviews online, so that whenever anybody's looking for you, they see all the great experiences that your business has provided.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, Violet just dropped a really helpful guide to how to do that, which hopefully will be useful for you all. Summer asked, can I turn on or off what days clients can book online? Yes, you can control your calendar so that folks can't just sort of book you every time or all the time. You're able to sort of block out what days of the week you're working and set your working hours. But let me know if that answers your question. I'm not sure. Thea, I still can't find. Okay, good question here. So you're not able to find the receptionist icon in the app. That's likely because you're not in the beta. So again, if you can join our waitlist, Armenia will be able to hopefully get you into that beta. And if not, you'll be able to get in there soon. Yeah, Gabriella just dropped our link again. That'll be your best resource for right this moment. Thank you. Okay, great. All right, guys, we have time for a few more questions. So if there's anybody else who has any burning questions about anything we covered tonight, feel free to drop them in the chat. If not, maybe if anybody has any great prompts that they've used on Growth Analyst, that's a good thing you could share. Summer, is there a way to upload my client list to your platform? Yes, there is. That is something that you can do yourself. And again, Violet might be able to share a helpful article there. If that's something that you're having difficulty managing, we do have folks on our team who can help you with data transfer. So, let us know if there's anything you can do to support there. But Summer, we'll share a little bit more info about the best ways to self-serve as well. Thank you for the question. Okay, I see some typers. Nikki, can you show the prompt slide again? Yes, absolutely. Well done. Give me 1 sec. I will go right back. Oop, I went back too far. There we are. Perfect. There you go, Nikki. Feel free to screenshot. Claudia, thank you so much. Oh, we love that. Thank you for being with us for 4 years. How cool is that? That's like how long I've been with GlossGenius. So we're twins. We're matching up there. That's awesome. Okay, guys, a few more minutes. We will let you guys drop any last questions in the chat. Thank you, Nikki. And yeah, just a big thank you again to everybody who decided to spend a little time with us today. Hopefully this was really helpful. Claudia, absolutely. We will keep you on the list. We're always going to be sending emails when we have some new ones coming out. I actually think an email dropped today. We have another class coming up we're really excited about. So keep an eye out, more to come. But with that, 1 more minute, we'll leave you guys for questions. I see just a couple more typers, so I'll let you all finish up. While you guys are still typing, thank you, Rachel. I am going to shoot back up our free demo slide. So again, the 2 big things for today, if you haven't joined the waitlist for reception yet, go ahead and do that. If you're not yet a member and you're interested in claiming a personalized demo with an awesome expert on our team, this is your opportunity to do it. So definitely follow the link in the chat or scan the QR if it's easy. Maybe if you're sitting on your computer, that's a great opportunity to kind of schedule in a convenient time for you and learn a bit more about the platform. And if you start a free trial, you'll be able to start to play around with some of these tools and see how they work for you in your business. So the sooner the better, I think. to start getting ahead of the curve. All right, guys. Well, I'm not seeing too many more questions. So I just, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to Alex for being here with us too. We so appreciate it. And yeah, we're so excited to meet all of you and see all of you here tonight. And we'll see you at the next one, I think. Awesome.
Sounds
Bye,
good.
guys. Have a great rest of your day.